Theater Guild on the air. Our star, Fred Allen, the play The Man Who Came to Dinner by George Kaufman and Moss Hart. Produced on the air tonight by the Theater Guild, one of America's foremost theatrical producers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ever since the world began, there have been fires, earthquakes, floods, epidemics, and disasters. But none of them even remotely compared with what happened when Sheridan Whiteside, the famous writer, lecturer, and radio personality, played tonight by Fred Allen, when the man who came to dinner slipped on a piece of ice, broke his hip, and was forced to remain in one place for 5 weeks. We take you now to the living room of the Stanley residence in Mesilla, Ohio. Time, the suspenseful, dramatic seconds just before Mr. Whiteside emerges from his sick room for the first time. Present are Mr. and Mrs. Ernest Stanley and their daughter, June.
Now, you stand there, June. And you, Ernest, over here next to... Oh, Miss Cutler, is
Pardon me, Mrs. Stanley. May I move this chair?
Oh, certainly, my dear. Ernest, you remember Miss Cutler, Mr. Whiteside's secretary.
How do you do?
Mind if I borrow these cushions?
Oh, you mean he's coming out now?
He is indeed. In a wheelchair.
June, get out of the way. Ernest, here he comes with Dr. Bradley and the nurse. Now say something nice to him, dear. He's been very ill, you know.
Good morning, Mr. Whiteside. Nice to see you. I trust you're feeling better?
Thank you. I'm suing you for $150,000.
What? You mean because you fell on our stoop, Mr. Whiteside?
My attorney will explain it to you in court. Who is this mildewed harpy basking in your rancid offing?
Why, Mr. Whiteside, I'm Mrs. Stanley, your hostess, don't you remember?
Ah, Madam Dracula. I have a few small matters to take up with you, too.
One moment, Mr. Whiteside. No serious discussions, please. You must have peace and quiet, or I will not be responsible for the consequences.
Quiet, you obsolescent quack. Now, Mrs. Stanley, this rustic male brother at my elbow tells me that I shall be confined in this moldy mortuary for at least another 10 days. I shall therefore require the exclusive use of this room, as well as that drafty sewer you are pleased to call the library. I want no one to come in or out while I'm in here.
But we have to go up those stairs to get to our rooms, Mr. Whiteside.
Is there a service entrance?
Why, yes.
Then use that.
What?
I shall also require a room for my secretary, Miss Cutler, here. I shall have a great many incoming and outgoing calls, so please do not use the telephone. I sleep until noon and require absolute quiet throughout the house until that hour.
Mr. Whiteside, if I may interrupt for a
You
moment.
may not, sir. And kindly take your clammy hand off my wheelchair. It's clouding the mahogany. And now will you all leave this room quietly, or must I ask Miss Cutler to pass among you with a baseball bat?
Now look here, Mr. Whiteside.
There is nothing to discuss, sir. Considering the damage I have suffered at your hands, I think I am asking very little. Good day.
I'll call you from the office later, Daisy.
Not on this phone, please. Now, where were we? Oh, yes, Mrs. Stanley, here is the menu for lunch.
But I've already ordered lunch.
It will be sent up to you on a tray.
Oh.
Nurse?
Here I am, Mr. Whiteside, standing right behind you.
Well, stop breathing on me. One thing I cannot stand is an old maid exhaling on the back of my neck. Zephyrs on my nape unnerve me.
Is there something you'd like me to do for you, Mr. Whiteside?
Yes, go shake your thermometer.
Well, Mr. Whiteside, I think I can safely leave you in Miss Preem's capable hands. Shall I look in again this afternoon?
Doctor, if you do, I shall spit right in your eye.
What a sense of humor you celebrities have. By the way, it isn't really worth mentioning, but I've been doing a little writing myself about my medical experiences. I just happened to have the manuscript with me.
Am I to be spared nothing in this polluted domicile?
It's called The Country Doctor Cometh. And I've been told it's better than O'Neill and longer.
I shall lose no time in reading it, if you know what I mean. Good day, Dr. Bradley.
Keep that hip quiet and don't forget those little pills.
Well, what are you hanging around here for? You, what's your name?
It's June. My daughter, Mr. Whiteside.
Yes, I noticed the family resemblance. Gargoyle, isn't it? Kindly get out of my sight.
Oh, yes, Mr. Whiteside.
And take Lena the hyena with you. Go on, everybody out. Out, out. Miss Cutler and I have work to do.
I must say, you certainly behaved with all your accustomed grace and charm, Sherry.
Look here, Puss. I am in no mood to discuss my behavior. I did not wish to cross this cheerless threshold. I was hounded and badgered into it. I now find myself, after 2 weeks of racking pain, accused of behaving without charm. What would you have me do? Kiss them?
Very well, Sherry. After 10 years, I should have known better than to try and do anything about your manners. But when I finally give up this job, I'll write a book about it. You won't like that book, Sherry.
Listen, Repulsive. You are tied to me with an umbilical cord made of piano wire. You can't quit. And why? Because I won't let you. Don't ever forget that, Maggie. And now if we can dismiss the subject of charm, possibly we can go to work. Have you got that, Maggie? Now send a wire to the broadcasting company as follows. You can schedule my Christmas Eve broadcast from the New York studio. We'll have as my guests Alfred Lunt and Lynn Fontanne, the Lone Ranger, Joe DiMaggio, and Mrs. Nussbaum. With my good friend Banjo, the great motion picture comedian, on a Hollywood hookup, Whiteside.
Are you sure you can get Banjo?
Well, of course. He'll do anything for me. Send a cable to Mahatma Gandhi, General Delivery, Bombay, India. Dear Boo-Boo, schedule change. Can you meet me Calcutta, July 12th? Dinner 8:30 without chutney. By the way, Boo-Boo, can you spare a couple of sheets? There's a shortage here. Whiteside. Answer it, Maggie. If it's for Mrs. Stanley, tell them she's too drunk to talk.
Hello. Who? Mr. Jefferson?
Jefferson? If it's the one who wrote the Declaration of Independence, I'm in. Otherwise, hang up.
No, Mr. Jefferson, he doesn't speak to anyone over the phone, particularly reporters. No, it's no use coming here. He won't give you an interview. Goodbye. Reporter on the local paper.
Well, keep him away from me. Now, where were we?
Here's a cable from that dear friend of yours, Lorraine Sheldon.
Oh, let me see it.
I'll read it. Sherry, my poor sweet lamb. Only just heard of your poor hip. I'm down here in Surrey with Lord Bottomley. Sailing Wednesday on Queen Elizabeth and cannot wait to see my poor Sherry. Your blossom girl, Lorraine. Bowie.
Now, don't be bitter, Puss. Just because Lorraine happens to be more beautiful than you are. Here, give me the rest of those. Thank you. Say, here's one from Beverly Carlton.
England's little wonder boy?
Uh-huh. Dear baby's breath. What is this I hear about a fractured hip? Was it that network censor again? Just arrived San Francisco, misspelled here. Just arrived... I'm dictating in shorthand, don't mind me, Maggie. Just arrived San Francisco from Honolulu, accompanied by my new play, new symphony, and new ulcer. Signed, Lavender Eyes. Maggie, send Beverly a cable to stop by here on his way to New York. If these people intend to have their friends using the front door...
What do you want them to use, a rope ladder?
I will not have a lot of mildewed bingo players rushing in and out of this house. There's nobody home. The Stanleys have been arrested for white slavery.
Good morning, Mr. Whiteside. I'm Jefferson of the Massalia Journal.
Oh, it's the man who telephoned.
Maggie, get rid of him.
Sorry, Mr. Jefferson, but as I told you, Mr. Whiteside is seeing no one.
Really?
So will you please excuse us? Good day.
Mr. Whiteside seems to be sitting up and taking notice.
I'm afraid he isn't taking notice of the Massalia Journal, do you mind?
You know, if I'm going to be insulted, I'd like it to be by Mr. Whiteside himself. I never did like carbon copies.
Touche. And in Massalia, too, Maggie, dear.
Will you please leave?
Mr. Whiteside, if I don't get this interview, I'll lose my job.
That will be quite all right with me.
Mr. Whiteside, you used to be a newspaper man yourself. You know what editors are like. Well, mine's the toughest one that ever lived.
You won't get around me that way either. If you don't like your editor, get off the paper.
I can't. You see, Mr. Whiteside, the Journal was my father's paper. It's kind of a sentimental point with me, and I'd like to carry on where he left off.
Just a minute. Then this terrifying editor, this journalistic Bela Lugosi, is you.
In a word, yes.
Very good, Mr. Jefferson. Very good.
In the future, Sherry, I wish you'd let me know when you don't want to talk to people. I'll usher them right in.
Young man, come over here by my wheelchair. I suppose you've written that novel and want me to look at it?
No, I've written that play.
And I can imagine what it's like. Hand me that box of goodies over there, will you?
These? Here.
Thank you. Pecan butternut fudge.
Mr. Whiteside, don't.
My nurse. She used to double for Boris Karloff. Come in, Miss Preen. How is your short leg today?
Oh, my. You mustn't eat candy, Mr. Whiteside. It's very bad for you.
Miss Preen, if that is your name, my great-aunt Jennifer ate a whole box of candy every day of her life. She lived to be 102, and when she had been dead for 3 days, she looked better than you do now. Good day, Florence Nightingale.
Oh!
Well, Jefferson, now that you've won me with your pretty ways, what can I do for you?
Well, how about a brief talk on famous radio personalities?
My dear boy, when I talk about radio, I get paid for it. I have even, in fact, been paid not to talk about radio. Certain network vice presidents have been my chief source of revenue for many years. Hush money. Well, come in, Maggie. Still sore?
Never mind me. Will you okay this telegram to Banjo in Hollywood?
This aging debutante, Mr. Jefferson, I retain in my employ only because she is the sole support of her two-headed brother.
Do I come in, please?
Metz, you incredible beetle hound. What are you doing here?
Metz, darling, what a wonderful surprise.
Jefferson, you are standing in the presence of one of the great men of our time. Permit me to introduce Professor Adolf Metz, the world's greatest authority on insect life.
How do you do?
I hear you are sick, Sherry, so I come to cheer you. I said to my students, boys and girls, I want to give a present to my sick friend Sheridan Whiteside. So you know what we did? We made for you a community of Periplaneta Americana, commonly known as the American cockroach. Behold, Sheriff, Roach City.
Yeah.
Inside this model community are 10,000 cockroaches.
10,000?
And in 1 week, Sherry, if all goes well, there will be 50,000.
What can go wrong? They're in there, aren't they?
Quiet, please, Maggie.
Here in Roach City, they play, they make love, they mate. Look, here's the maternity ward. They do everything that human beings do.
Well...
Please, Maggie, these are my cockroaches.
Here. Put on one of these earphones, Sherry. You will hear the mating calls. Listen.
Sounds like two of my best friends in radio. Executives. How long has this been going on? Nurse!
Yes, Mr. Whiteside.
You've been hiding in that room all week. What have you got in there anyway? A sailor? What time did Miss Cutler go out?
Your secretary? A couple of hours ago.
Mr. Jefferson called for her?
Yes, sir. Just like he's been doing every day this week.
No innuendos, please. You may now crawl back into your bottle of formaldehyde. Mr. and Mrs. Stanley, I presume, or is it Livingston?
Mr. Whiteside, I want to talk to you. I don't care whether you're busy or not.
Now, Ernest, please.
I have just received a bill from the telephone company for $784. Calls to Oklahoma City, Calcutta, Hollywood, Australia. Now, I realize, Mr. Whiteside, that you're a celebrity.
Yes, of course, we both do.
Please, Daisy. But in the past week, we haven't been able to call our souls our own. I have to tiptoe out of the house in the morning.
Now,
I come home to find out-of-work actors sitting at my dinner table, script writers thinking up gags in my bathroom,
and a man putting cockroaches in the kitchen.
They just escaped, Ernest.
Mr. Whiteside, I want you to leave this house as soon as you can and go to a hotel.
Oh, now, Ernest,
Stop
please.
toying me, Daisy. That's all I've got to say, Mr. Whiteside.
And quite enough, I should say. May I remind you again, Mr. Stanley, that I am not a willing guest at this house? If you insist on my leaving now, thereby causing me to suffer a relapse, I shall sue you for every additional day I am held inactive, which will amount, I can assure you, to a tidy sum.
This is outrageous.
As for your petty complaint, sir, there is only one point in which I see some slight justice. I do not expect you to pay for my telephone calls. Can you provide me with the exact amount?
I certainly can.
Good. I shall instruct my lawyers to deduct it from the $150,000 I'm suing you for.
Excuse me, Mr. Whiteside.
Ah, the Stanley offspring. Come in, June. I'm not going to bite you.
Thank you, Mr. Whiteside.
June, I'm afraid that when we first met, I was definitely unpleasant to you. For that, I'm truly sorry. And I wish that in the future, you wouldn't treat me like something out of Edgar Allan Poe. Understood?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Been skating?
Oh, it was wonderful on the ice today, Mr. Whiteside. Miss Cutler and Mr. Jefferson were there.
Maggie, skating?
Mm-hmm. And she's good, too. They certainly make a marvelous pair.
Do they? Well.
Hello, June. Good evening, Sherry. Did you nap while I was out?
Hello, Miss Cutler. See you later, Mr. Whiteside.
What's the matter, dear? Cat got your tongue?
Don't look at me with those great cow eyes, you hag. Where have you been all afternoon?
Sherry, Bert Jefferson read his play to me. It's superb. Here it is. I want you to read it tonight.
No, I will not read it tonight or any other night, you flea-bitten Cleopatra.
Sherry, I'm in love.
Nonsense. This is merely delayed colic. I suggest Paragon.
No, Sherry. I'm a girl who's waited a long time for this to happen. Now it has. Mr. Jefferson doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to try my darndest to marry him.
Is that all?
Yeah, except, well, I suppose this is what might be called my resignation. As soon as you've got someone else.
Now listen to me, Maggie. We've been together for a long time. You are indispensable to me, but I think I am unselfish enough not to let that stand in the way where your happiness is concerned.
I know that, Sherry.
Then start packing. Hip or no hip, we're leaving this musty mausoleum tomorrow. I'll pull you out of this, Miss Stardust.
It's no good, Sherry. I'd be back on the next train.
Maggie, can you see yourself as the wife of the editor of the Massalia Journal, having an evening at home with Mr. and Mrs. Stanley, Mr. and Mrs. Poopface, and the members of the Flower of the Month Club?
Sherry, I've had 10 years of the great people of our times. And don't think I'm not grateful to you for it. But there comes a time when a girl wants Bert Jefferson. I love him, Sherry.
Maggie, I won't let you marry him. I shall do everything in my power to bring you to your senses.
Now listen to me, Whiteside. I know you. Lay off. I know what a devil you can be. I've seen you do it to other people, but don't you dare do it to me. Oh, I know what a lather you can get into when your life's disrupted. You can't dine in Calcutta on the 12th with Boo-Boo. Well, that's too bad, but there it is. I'm going to marry Bert if he'll have me, and don't you dare try any of your tricks. I'm on to every one of them, so lay off. That's my message to you, Big Lord Fauntleroy.
A fine thing, after all I've done for her. A playwright. Wait a minute, a playwright. Zounds and gadzooks, what am I worrying about? Long distance, please. I want to put in a transatlantic call. Hello? Transatlantic operator? I want to talk to Miss Lorraine Sheldon. She's on the Queen Elizabeth. Will it take long? All right. I'll be waiting.
Well, good evening, Mr. Whiteside.
Ah, the esteemed gravedigger, Dr. Bradley.
Mr. Whiteside, what would be the best news I could possibly bring you?
That you had hydrophobia.
Oh, Mr. Whiteside, you can get out of that wheelchair and walk now.
What do you mean?
Well, sir, I looked at those x-rays again this morning, and you know what? I'd been looking at the wrong ones. Those belong to somebody else, a specimen at the morgue. Mr. Whiteside, you are perfectly, absolutely well.
Lower your voice, will you?
What's the matter? Aren't you pleased?
Delighted, naturally. This news, however, comes at a very curious moment. Dr. Bradley, I have some good news for you, too. I've been reading your book.
Yeah?
And I want you to know that I consider it to be one of the great literary contributions of our time.
Mr. Whiteside.
Just here and there, a little rough, perhaps. Now, what I would like to do, Doctor, is to stay here in Massalia and work on the book with you.
Mr. Whiteside, I would be honored, sir.
But there is just one difficulty. If my radio sponsors were to learn that I am well, naturally they'd insist on my filling my contracts. And, of course, I'd be forced to leave Massalia. Therefore, Doctor, we must not tell anyone, not even my secretary, Miss Cutler. You understand?
I won't tell a soul.
Good.
When do we start work tonight? I've got just one patient that's dying, and then I'll be perfectly free.
Tomorrow morning, Doctor. This is a private call. Do you mind?
Oh, of course not. You've made me very proud, Mr. Whiteside. Good night.
Hello? Yes, I put in a call to Lorraine Sheldon. Put her on. Hello? Is this my Blossom girl? Well, how are you, precious? Now, listen closely, Lorraine. I've discovered a wonderful play with a great part in it for you. Now, wait. Let me tell you. The author is a young newspaper man here in this town. Of course, he wants Catherine Cornell, but if you jump on a plane as soon as your boat docks and get right out here, I think you can swing it if you play your cards right. Now, look, don't send me any messages. Just get on a plane and arrive. Then go to work on it. That's right. Goodbye, my Blossom. That does it. She's gonna do what she did before, baby.
And now the curtain rises on the second act of The Man Who Came to Dinner by George Kaufman and Moss Hart, adapted for radio by Arthur Arendt, and starring Fred Allen as Sheridan Whiteside, with Sam Levine as Banjo and Ann Burr as Maggie. It's a week later, Christmas Eve to be exact. Sheridan Whiteside, fractured hip and all, is still a guest at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Ernest Stanley in Massalia, Ohio. We see him now in earnest conversation with the daughter of the house, young June.
Now, my little prairie flower, what can I do for you? Is it about your proletarian boyfriend at the factory?
Yes. I just can't seem to make Father understand. He won't meet him. He won't even talk about it. What are we going to do, Mr. Whiteside? Sandy and I love each other. I don't know where to turn.
Well, what exactly does he do, this young man?
Well, you see, Mr. Whiteside, he works for the union as an organizer. He's been organizing the men in Papa's factory, and Papa doesn't like it.
I'll bet.
But this morning he got word they're going to send him to San Francisco. He'll be gone at least a year. So we've simply got to decide now.
Now, listen to me, child. What does all this boil down to? Your father. The possibility of making him unhappy. Is that right?
Very unhappy.
Well, suppose your parents are unhappy. It's good for them. Develops their characters. Look at me. I left home at the age of 4. Crawled away. It was uphill, too. I haven't been back home since. They hear me on the radio, and that's enough for them.
Your advice is to go ahead, Mr. Whiteside.
It is. Marry him tonight, June.
You mean that, Mr. Whiteside?
No, I mean you should marry Senator Claghorn. If I didn't mean it, I wouldn't say it. Now go on, get out of here. I'm expecting a very glamorous visitor, and I want to pick my teeth before she arrives. Where are they? Where am I? Put them right here. Where are they? Right down here. Where are my
teeth? Sherry, my sweet...
Lorraine, my blossom girl. When did you get in?
Just now. Oh, look at that poor, sweet, tortured face. Let me kiss it. Oh, Sherry, dear, I want to cry.
All right. You've made a very nice entrance. Now relax, dear. And let's have all the dirt. What about your love life? How is that splendid bit of English mutton, Lord Bottomley? Have you hooked him yet?
Sherry, please. Cedric's a very dear friend of mine.
Now, Blossom girl, this is Sherry, remember? Don't tell me you wouldn't like to be Lady Bottomley with all that spinach of his. By the way, has he had his teeth fixed yet, the brace
Sherry,
removed?
really? Shall I tell you something, darling? I think, from something he said just before I sailed, that he's finally coming around to it.
Lady Bottomley. Won't Lucius be a guest?
But, Sherry, what about this play? Where is it? When can I read it?
Well, here's the situation. The author's name is Jefferson, Bert Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he brought me the play with the understanding, of course, that I send it to Cornell. Instead, I'm letting you in on it, and the rest is up to you.
Oh, darling, how can I ever thank you? Does he know I'm coming? Mr. Jefferson, I mean.
No, nobody knows. You're just out here supposedly visiting me. Good Lord, I don't have to tell you how to do these things, Lorraine. How did you get all of those other parts?
Sherry. Yes, well, I'll be getting along to the hotel and getting something more attractive.
That's right. Run along and get into your working clothes. Then come right back here. Oh, it's you, Maggie.
Sherry, Mr. Westcott and the sound engineers have come to set up the microphones, and the choir boys are here. Oh. Well, hello, Lorraine.
Hello, Maggie. Sherry, dear, you going to broadcast from here tonight?
I am. My Christmas Eve broadcast, complete with choir boys, will emanate from this unsanitary hovel. Say, who's that lurking out there in the hall? Is that you, Bert? Come in.
Hi, Sherry.
Lorraine, this is Mr. Bert Jefferson, young newspaper man, Miss Lorraine Sheldon.
How do you do, Miss Sheldon?
How do you do? I didn't catch the name. Jefferson?
That's right, pet.
Why, Mr. Jefferson, you don't look like a newspaper man at all. Oh, I should have said you were, I don't know, an aviator or an explorer. They have that same kind of dash about them. Tell me, have you lived in Massalia all your life?
If you wish to hear the story of his life, Lorraine, kindly do so on your own time. Maggie and I have work to do here. Goodbye, you two.
Can I drop you any place, Mr. Jefferson?
Thank you, but I've got my car. Suppose I drop you.
Oh, would you? That would be lovely. Goodbye, all.
So long, Maggie. See you later.
Please stop oozing out and get out.
Come on, Mr. Jefferson. I want to know all there is to know about you.
Now, let's see, Maggie. Have you a copy of tonight's broadcast?
She's looking very well, isn't she?
What's that? Who?
Lady Macbeth. Quite a surprise, wasn't it, her dropping in?
Yes, it was. Now, come on, Maggie. Let's go to work.
Why, she must have gone through New York on a broomstick. How long's she going to stay?
Well, how do I know? Now, who the devil is that?
Isn't it curious? There was Lorraine, snug as a bug in her deck chair, just outside the men's room on the Queen Elizabeth. All of a sudden, she's here. Now, Sherry, dear, we will talk a bit.
Sherry! Magpie! Hey-ho.
Beverly Carlton.
Beverly! Come in here, you Piccadilly pen pusher, and gaze upon a soul in agony.
I've only got a minute. Changing trains. Ah, Maggie, darling, you are the moonflower of my middle age, and I love you very much. Sherry, my boy, without going into mountainous waves of self-pity, how are you?
I am in fine fettle, you presumptuous cockney. How was Honolulu? Never mind, let's have all the dirt first.
Ah, speaking of dirt, did I not glimpse that boudoir butterfly, Lorraine Sheldon, as I came up the driveway?
You did indeed. She's paying us a Christmas visit.
Ah, dear girl. They do say she set fire to her mother, but I don't believe it.
I don't believe it.
Still, she might have, you know. Oh, by the way, I am just now in receipt of a report concerning her from my operative in London. It seems that since September, Lorraine, in her relentless pursuit of Lord Bottomley, has paused only to change girdles and check her oil.
Really?
She chased him panting from castle to castle till he finally took refuge for several weekends in the gentleman's lounge of the House of Lords. Although she has sailed on the Queen Elizabeth, she would return by rocket plane if his lordship so much as belches in her direction.
Do your imitation of him, Beverly, please.
Certainly.
Not very good shooting today, Blostit. Only 6 partridges, 4 grouse, and the Duke of Sutherland.
Say that Bottomley to the very bottom. Answer it, Maggie. It may be my friend Banjo from Hollywood.
Hello. Oh, hello, Bert. Hey, you know who's here? Beverly Carlton. That's right. Well, I'll ask him. Beverly, would you see a reporter at the station just for a minute before the train goes?
Very well, Maggie. For you.
Bert, go to the station and wait for him. He'll be there in a few minutes. Bye.
All set out here, Mr. Whiteside.
Come in, Westcott. You can set up the microphone any place at all. Just wheel me inside, Beverly, and we'll continue this little...
Sorry, Mr. Whiteside, but we'll lead you in here at the mic. Testing voice levels.
Well, au revoir, Sherry. Merry Christmas. Magpie, come give me a kiss.
Okay, Mr. Whiteside, say something.
I'll take you out to the door, Beverly. I want to talk to you. It's important.
Go ahead, Mr. Whiteside.
Maggie, you stay here with me. I don't like that scheming look in your eye. Maggie!
Please, Mr. Whiteside, don't yell. Count.
1, 2, 3, 4. Come back here, Maggie. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come back here, Maggie.
Mr.
I say you're out.
Whiteside, please.
1, 2, woof, woof. 1, 2, button my shoe. 1, 2, 3.
You see, I've fallen in love. I can't tell you about it if there isn't time, but Sherry's trying to break it up.
Why, the old devil, what's he doing?
Lorraine. He's brought Lorraine here to smash it.
Oh, it's somebody here in this town?
Yeah, he's a newspaper man. The one you're going to see at the station. And he's written a play. I know Sherry must be using that as bait. You know, Lorraine, she'll eat him up alive. You've got to help me, Beverly.
Why, of course I will, Magpie. What do you want me to do?
Got to get Lorraine out of here. The farther away, the better. And you can do it for me.
Beverly, are you still there?
No, Sherry, he's gone. I'll be right in. Now, listen, Beverly, dear. This is what I want you to do. When you arrive...
Hello, Maggie, dear. Merry Christmas Eve. Where's Sherry?
He's in the library working. He's broadcasting very soon. Well, that's quite a gown, Lorraine. You going anywhere?
This? Oh, I just threw on anything at all. By the way, didn't I see Beverly Carlson coming in as I left?
Yeah, you did. He came and went. Tell me, Lorraine, have you found a new play yet?
No, I haven't. There was a pile of manuscripts waiting for me in New York, but I hurried right out to see Sherry.
That was sweet of you, dear. Did you know that Mr. Jefferson has written quite a good play? The young man that drove you to the hotel?
Really? No, I didn't. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, isn't it? Hello. Yes, Miss Lorraine Sheldon? Yes, she's here. Transatlantic call coming through for you, Lorraine.
For me? Here? What in the world?
Here you are. London.
London? Hello? Cedric, is that you? Why, Cedric, you darling. Why, what a surprise. How'd you know I was here? Darling, don't talk so fast and you won't stutter so. What? Darling. Cedric, dearest, would you wait for just one moment? Maggie, would you mind? It's Lord Bottomley, a very personal call.
Why, not at all.
Now, tell me, dearest. Cedric, please don't stutter so. Don't be nervous. Oh, my darling. Oh, my sweet. Oh, you don't know how I prayed for you to ask me. Oh, darling, yes, 1,000 times yes. I'll take a plane right out of here. Goodbye, darling, goodbye. Maggie!
Yes, Lorraine?
Maggie, dear, I've got to get to New York right away in the next plane for England.
What's all the rumpus in here? Sounds like a convention of seagulls.
Oh, Sherry, dear, Lord Bottomley just telephoned just this minute. He's asked me to marry him.
Well, what do you know?
Let me understand this, Lorraine. Am I to gather from your girlish squeals that you were about to toss your career into the ash can and everything else?
Oh, but Sherry, you couldn't expect me to. My goodness, I can't get over it. Oh, dear, Cedric.
Will you kindly stop this female drooling? I have a violent headache.
Oh, Sherry, can I get you something?
Hello, everybody. Say, you know it's snowing out? Going to have a real old-fashioned Christmas.
Mr. Jefferson, why don't you telephone your scoop to the New York Times?
Sherry has a headache, Bert.
Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, Maggie, anybody admire my Christmas present yet?
Oh, dear, I forgot. Look, everybody, this bracelet. From Mr. Jefferson to me.
Oh, it's sweet, isn't it, Sherry?
Ducky.
Maggie, what's going on between you and Mr. Jefferson? Are you hiding something from me?
Lord, will this drivel never stop? My head is bursting.
Say, I got a 2-minute interview with Beverly Carlton at the station. He's quite a guy.
Never mind that, Bert. Why don't you mix us all a drink, dear?
Certainly, Maggie. I was lucky to get even 2 minutes. He was in a telephone booth most of the time. Couldn't hear what he was saying, but from the faces he was making, it looked like he was giving an imitation or something.
Bert, mix those drinks, will you?
Just a minute, if you please, Jefferson. Mr. Carlton was in a telephone booth at the station?
Certainly was. I thought he'd never come out. Kept talking and making the funniest faces for about 5 minutes. Say, he doesn't stutter, does he?
Bert, for goodness sake.
Bert, my boy, you're better than a doctor. My headache is gone with the wind. Hold everything, everybody.
Sherry, what are you doing?
One long pan is now at work. Operator, has there been a call from England over this telephone within the past half hour? Yes, I'll wait.
Sherry, what is this?
What's that, operator? There have been no calls from England for the past 3 days? Thank you. Thank you very much, operator, and Merry Christmas.
Sherry, what is all this? What's going on here?
Lorraine, my daffodil, you have just played over this telephone the greatest love scene of your career with Beverly Carlton.
What? That's not true. I was talking to Cedric. Sherry, stop this. I demand an explanation.
All I can tell you is that Beverly was indulging in one of his famous bits of mimicry, that's all. You've heard him do Lord Bottomley before, haven't you?
Yes. Yes, of course, but why? Why on earth would he want to do such a thing? Of all the contemptible...
Easy, Blossom. You'll bust your seam.
But why? Why would he want to ship me off to England on a fool's errand? Must have been some reason. Why would Beverly Carlton, or anybody else for that matter, want me to... Oh, now I think I begin. Of course, that's it. Of course, that's it.
All right, Miss Whiteside, 2 minutes to go. You got your script?
I have.
That's a very charming bracelet that Mr. Jefferson gave you, isn't it, Maggie, dear? Ooh, and to think that I nearly... Well, wild horses wouldn't get me out of here now, Maggie, if you know what I mean.
1, 2, 3, 4. How are we coming in, New York? Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was...
Mr. Whiteside! Mr. Whiteside!
Mr. Stanley, if you please, I'm about to start my broadcast to send out to a waiting world...
Let him wait. Mr. Whiteside, do you realize?
Quiet, please, Mr. Stanley. We're going on the air.
What do I care? This is the most outrageous...
Please, quiet in 40 seconds.
You did it. My daughter has run off to marry an anarchist.
Yes.
And she said you told her to do it.
Yes, and not only that, I can't move 1 foot in this house without stepping on a choir boy. In the kitchen, in the broom closet, in my own bathroom, all I see is choir boys.
Please, we'll be on the air in 30 seconds.
Get him out of here, do you hear? First cockroaches, now choir
20
boys.
seconds.
Good Lord, here they come. Choir boys.
10 seconds. Okay, New York.
Quiet, everybody. Quiet.
5 seconds. Good evening, everybody. On this, the night before Christmas, Cream of Mush brings you Sheridan Whiteside.
This is Whiteside speaking. On this eve of eves, when my own heart is overflowing with peace and kindness, and the spirit of goodwill to men lies firmly embedded in the hearts of us all, I, Sheridan Whiteside, do hereby resolve a mighty oath to love my fellow man, to treat him kindly and with respect.
Now the curtain rises on the third act of The Man Who Came to Dinner by George Kaufman and Moss Hart, starring Fred Allen as Sheridan Whiteside, with Sam Levine as Banjo and Ann Burr as Maggie.
Good morning, Maggie, dear. Merry Christmas.
Sherry, I'm leaving. Here are your keys and your driving license. I'm taking the 1 o'clock train.
You're doing nothing of the kind.
Look, Sherry, it's over and you've won. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, come. What are you trying to do? Make me feel like a naughty, naughty boy? Honestly, Maggie, sometimes you can be very annoying.
You know, You're quite wonderful, Sherry, in a way. You're annoyed. Shall I tell you something, Sherry? I think you're a selfish, petty egomaniac. I think you'd sacrifice your best friend without a moment's hesitation if he disturbed your self-centered, paltry little life. And I was the fool of the world for ever thinking I could trust you.
Well, as long as I live, I shall never do anyone a good turn again.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas. I'm a little high, but I can explain everything. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Mr. Whiteside. Shake hands with a successful playwright. Lorraine Sheldon thinks the play is wonderful. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, that's fine, Bert.
Isn't that wonderful, Mr. Whiteside?
Jefferson, I think you ought to go home and lie down, don't you?
What? No, biggest day of my life. Listen, Maggie, Lorraine's, Miss Sheldon, says the play needs just a little bit of fixing. Do it in 3 weeks. She's going to take me to a little place she's got in Lake Placid. Work on the play together. Isn't that wonderful? Why don't you say something, Maggie?
I'm very happy for you, Bert.
That's fine. That's what I wanted to hear you say. Now I guess I'll go home and lie down.
I love him so terribly. Oh, Sherry, why did you do it? Why did you do it?
Now listen to me, Maggie. I am perfectly willing to forgive your tawdry outburst and talk about this thing calmly. Miss Preen? Miss Preen?
Yes, Mr. Whiteside?
Answer that doorbell.
But I thought you didn't want any visitors today.
Listen to me, Joyce Jordan girl intern. There is only one person in the world who has the effrontery to ring my doorbell in that obscene manner, and his name... Well, what are you waiting for? Christmas, it's here. Answer the bell.
Yes, Mr. Whiteside.
Where were we, Maggie? Maggie, where are you? Well, of all the... There you have it. She's gone. Snuck out of the room like an Arab incognito when my back was turned. Even as I was doing my best to... Banjo!
Boy, you look like a nurse.
Put me down.
I love you madly, nurse. Ooh. Ooh, you hear what I said? Madly. Ooh, kiss me. Again.
Mr. Whiteside.
Don't be afraid of my passion. I can feel the hot blood pounding through your varicose veins.
There, who are you? Put me down. Mr. Whiteside.
Banjo, I thought I recognized that ring. Put her down.
Okay, baby, you're down. Hey, nurse, come to my room in half an hour and bring some rye bread.
Really, Mr. Whiteside, don't you have any normal friends, Mr. Whiteside?
Stop waving your hand at me, Miss Preen. You may leave the room.
Whiteside, I'm here to spend Christmas with you. Darrell Zanuck loaned me his reindeer, so I flew in from Hollywood.
Listen, you idiot. How long can you stay?
Just long enough to take a bath. I'm on my way to Nova Scotia. Where's Maggie?
Nova Scotia? What are you going to Nova Scotia for?
Well, I'm sick of Hollywood, and there's a dame in New York I don't want to see, so I figured I'd go to Nova Scotia and get some good salami. Where's Maggie? I want to see her.
Banjo, I'm glad you're here. I am very annoyed at Maggie. Very.
Why, what's the... Say, you just got out of that wheelchair. You're walking. I thought you busted... What is this?
Oh, I've been all right for days. It suited my little plot to appear to be an invalid. Oh. But that isn't the point. It's Maggie. After all of these years, Banjo, she's repaying my affection by behaving like a fishwife. Why, she's actually in love with the fellow.
In love with who? I just got here, remember?
Good Lord, I'm telling you. Maggie's in love with a young newspaper man here in town.
Go on. What happened?
Well, Lorraine Sheldon happened to come out here and visit me.
The daughter of the regiment here?
Shut up and listen. She's going to Lake Placid with him this afternoon to rewrite. Maggie's inside now, crying her eyes out.
Gee. Say, wait a minute. What do you mean Lorraine happened to come out here? I smell a rat, Sherry. A rat that talks through his nose.
Well, all right. But I did it for Maggie, because I thought it was the right thing for her.
Oh, sure. You haven't thought of yourself in years. Now, where does this guy live? I mean, the one she likes.
Now, wait a minute, Banjo. We don't want any phony warrants or you pretending to be J. Edgar Hoover. It won't work.
You're right. Lorraine's no dope. Now, how long have we?
Until 1 o'clock. That's when Maggie's train leaves. Now, there must be some way out, Banjo. The trouble is, I've done this job too well. I've got to think.
thinking, Whiteside?
Shut up, you idiot.
Sherry, I got it. The only surefire plan that'll get Lorraine out of here.
I'm listening. Shoot.
Sherry, you remember that fella she was so crazy about in England, this Lord Bottomley? Now, we could get
No, Banjo, no.
Now, wait a minute. You don't catch on. We send Lorraine a cablegram from Lord Bottomley.
I catch on, my boy. Lorraine caught on, too. It's been tried.
Oh. Well, I told you she was no dope. Well, you're in a nice little jam, Sherry. I can feel your ship going down.
Yes, and you are just the rat to desert it. Miss Preen, what does this mean? Where are you going with that duffel bag?
It means, Mr. Whiteside, that I am leaving.
With me in my condition? You realize, Miss Preen, that this is completely unprofessional?
I do indeed. I am not only walking out on this case, Mr. Whiteside, I am leaving the nursing profession. I became a nurse because all my life, ever since I was a little girl, I was filled with the idea of serving a suffering humanity. After 1 month with you, Mr. Whiteside, I am going to work in a munitions factory. From now on, anything I can do to help exterminate the human race will fill me with the greatest of pleasure. Mr. Whiteside, if Florence Nightingale had ever nursed you, she would have married Jack the Ripper instead of founding the Red Cross. Good day.
Another rat deserting the ship, but I shall foil them yet. How? Shut up.
Don't tell him that, June. Don't.
June, I forbid you.
I just want to wish Mr. Whiteside a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Mr. Whiteside. Thank you for all you tried to do for me.
You're welcome, my dear, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Oh, June, my darling, don't cry. Oh, thank goodness you're back. You're not married, are you?
No, Mother, I'm not. Unfortunately.
Oh, June, if it had been anybody but that awful boy. Oh, Ernest, thank goodness you stopped it. How did you do it?
Never mind that, Daisy. Just take June upstairs.
That's right, Mother. Lock me in my room. Come on.
Now, Mr. Whiteside, I have something to say to you.
You have something to say to me, Mr. Stanley, in English?
Mr. Whiteside, not having your gift for invective, I cannot tell you what I think of your obnoxious interference in my affairs. But I have now arranged that you will not interfere any longer. Come in, gentlemen.
Here we are, Mr. Stanley. Any little thing you want us to take care of, Mr. Stanley?
Mr. Whiteside, these two gentlemen are deputy sheriffs. They have a warrant by which I am enabled to put you out of this house. Mr. Whiteside, I am giving you 15 minutes in which to pack up and get out. If you are not gone in 15 minutes, Mr. Whiteside, these gentlemen will forcibly eject you. Right, boys?
You bet, Mr. Stanley.
Thank you, gentlemen. Will you wait outside, please? 15 minutes, Mr. Whiteside. And that means bag, baggage, wheelchair, and cockroaches. I am now going upstairs to smash our radio, so that not even accidentally will I ever hear your voice again. And after you leave, I shall get stinking drunk for a week.
Still working on it, Sherry?
Be quiet, you fugitive from a bee picture. Time, if I only had time.
You've got 12 minutes.
12 minutes more, and our ship sails over the horizon.
Merry Christmas, Sherry. Oh, hello, Banjo.
Hello, sweetie pants. I hear you're off to Lake Placid.
Yes. You know, I'm looking forward to it. Mr. Jefferson's the kind of man who'll do all winter sports beautifully.
Will he get time?
When does your train leave, Lorraine?
About 4, I think. Oh, Sherry, darling, quite apart from his wonderful play, Mr. Jefferson is really a very attractive man. Yes, it makes it rather a pleasure squaring accounts with little Miss Betrayal, don't you think?
Yes.
Yes. What time does the boat sail, Sherry?
10 minutes.
Oh, what boat is this?
The good ship, up the creek.
Whiteside?
Yes, who are you?
American Express. All right, boys, bring it in.
What are they carrying, Sherry? What is it?
Great jumping Jehoshaphat. If there was one thing I needed right now, it's an Egyptian mummy, full size.
Oh, where do you want it?
Just put it down any place at all, boys. Thank you.
Stand it up over here, boys. Oh, here's the card that came with it, Mr. Whiteside.
Oh, thank you again. Good day.
Oh, listen to what it says. To Sheridan Whiteside, Merry Christmas from the Khedive of Egypt. What did you send him, Grant's tomb?
Mr. Whiteside?
Yes, Mr. Stanley.
5 minutes, Mr. Whiteside, including that thing.
Oh, Sherry, dear, who was that man?
He announces the time every few minutes. I pay him a small fee.
Say, this mummy case is something. Look, it opens up.
Oh, how interesting. Why, it's empty inside.
Close that confounded thing, Banjo. It gives me the creep.
Okay.
You know, I think it's rather beautiful. Think of it, Sherry. In this case was a woman once, like myself, who lived and loved, full of the same passions, fears, jealousies, and hates. And what remains of any of it now? This, and nothing more. A mere atom in the eternity of time.
Sherry, do you see what I see?
What?
She's in there.
Oh, yes, Banjo. I do
And
indeed.
here am I, another woman, living out her life. Oh, I want to cry.
Quick, Banjo. We've got to close that lid before...
It's too late. She's coming out. Do something, Whiteside. Get her back in there again.
Lorraine, dear, have you ever played St. Joan?
Why, no, Sherry, I haven't.
There was something about your expression as you stood in that case. There was an absolute halo about you.
Why, Sherry, how sweet.
It transcended any mortal expression I have personally ever seen. Step into it again, my dear.
Oh, Sherry, you're jostling me, aren't you?
My dear, I don't make light of these things. I was deeply moved. Please do it again.
Well, I don't know exactly what it was that I did, but I feel too silly, Sherry.
Lorraine, dear, once upon a time, you recall, you told me you would surrender your life for my happiness. All that I need to make me happy, Lorraine, is the memory of you in that mummy case.
My darling, I'm all choked up. Yes, of course I'll do it for you. 4,000 years. A mere atom in the eternity of
Quick,
time.
Banjo, quick.
Don't worry, pal. I'll get her this time.
Dust thou art, and dust to dust.
Eureka! Eureka!
Snap goes the lock. Snap goes the other one.
Will she be all right in there?
Sure, she can breathe easy, and it's soundproof. I'll let her out as soon as I can get her on a plane to Nova Scotia. Now, how do we get this thing out of here?
I'll think of something, my boy. Don't worry.
Think fast, Captain. Think fast.
The time is up, Mr. Whiteside. 15 minutes.
Ah, yes, Mr. Stanley. Just one favor before I go. I would like you to summon those two officers outside and ask them to help my friend Banjo here down to the airport with this mummy case.
I will do nothing of the kind.
Oh, yes, you will, Mr. Stanley. Or I shall inform my radio audience on my next broadcast that you are a dipsomaniac,
What?
a neurotic wife-beater, and a hard-hearted scoundrel who would throw a harmless aging invalid, I refer to myself, sir, out into the street.
What?
That so great is the distaste of your own child for you that she has run away with an anarchist rather than live in this man-made hell you call a home.
I'll sue you for libel. That's what I'll do.
Oh, I shall mention no names, mark you, but everybody knows where I've been spending these last 4 weeks. It's been in all of the papers. Mr. Stanley, I promise you, they will be throwing paving stones through your window before my broadcast is over. Well?
You win, Whiteside.
Whiteside, you're truly a great man.
Thank you.
Hey, you two guys, take that mummy case out of the airport and snap into it.
Okay, Mr. Stanley?
Okay.
Grab the front end, Bill. Use her out.
Thank you, gentlemen. Banjo, my love, you're wonderful, and I may write a book about you.
Don't bother. I can't read. Hello, Maggie, and goodbye.
Are you leaving, Banjo? Hey, what's going on here?
Never mind, Maggie. Love conquers all. Don't drop that mummy case, boys. It contains an antique. Goodbye, everybody.
Sherry, was that... Is she in...
It was, and she is. Maggie, the field is clear, and you have my blessing.
Sherry. Oh, Sherry, you old reprobate.
Now I take my leave of this miserable household. Goodbye, Maggie, dear. Goodbye, Mr. Stanley. I would like to hear, Mr. Stanley, in the very near future, that your daughter has married her young man or else. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Miss Cutler, has he gone? Has he really gone for good?
Of course he has, Mr. Stanley. And if I know Sheridan Whiteside, he'll stay as far away from here as he possibly can. Oh, my goodness, what's that?
I don't know, but I'm afraid.
Oh, it's Sherry. They're carrying him in. He fell down all over again.
Miss Preen, Miss Preen, I want Miss Preen back. Mr. Stanley, this time I'm suing you for $350,000.
.7 FM CHRE.
Forbes magazine, April 1984. The cellular mobile phone is now a reality. It is to the conventional mobile phone what satellite telecommunication is to undersea cable. And just as the personal computer and the office copier helped business become more efficient, so cellular mobile telephone service can help you make better use of your time. Introducing Bell's Cellular Mobile Telephone Service. This number will let you find out how this remarkable new technology can help you. Call toll-free 1-800-387-1446. With Bell Cellular, you can place or receive a call whenever you wish. Speak to anyone in the world from your car, your boat, or carry a cellular phone in your briefcase. Find out today how Bell Cellular can help you turn wasted travel time into profitable working time. Call Bell Cellular at 1-800-387-1446. That's 1-800-387-1446. Now you can profit from every minute of every day.
Hi there, I'm Tanya Reeder, inviting you to join me daily from 10 till 2. It's a new time for me, and I'm looking forward to spending the midday hours with you. As we head into the Christmas season, I'll keep you informed with all the happenings in the Niagara region. And as well, we'll listen to the latest music from your favorite artists, along with the best from yesterday. Plus, twice daily during the show, we spotlight on a different performer. It's a look behind the scenes on our Star Performer feature. Add to this our regular features, such as Canadian Living and Marquee at the Movies. And we have a great show every day, right here from 10 till 2 on CHRE FM.